The ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, Representative Adam Smith, is with us this evening. Congressman, I thank you so much for your time. I just want to start our conversation by having your reaction to what happened there in Israel.
Look, it's horrific. It's an act of just grotesque terrorism, as some of your previous guests described. Now, I was listening, actually, to your most recent guest talk about context. He left out a very key part of this context. When you look at what Israel has done in Gaza and in the West Bank, you can't look at that except through the lens that for the 75 years of Israel's existence, some combination of people in the Arab world and in Palestine have always denied the right of Israel to exist. Yes, Israel has taken aggressive actions. They've never been recognized and given the right to exist as a country. And they have had to defend themselves against that type of violence. And I'm sorry, but when you say that the context of this is everything that Israel has done, and that's why this is happening, when you throw out phrases like apartheid state, you are, in fact, justifying the actions that just happened. Look, Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005. They voluntarily gave it back to the Palestinian people. And as they pulled out, they were met with violence and a rain of rockets and the elevation of Hamas to being the group to run Gaza, a terrorist organization bent on the destruction of Israel. I want peace between Israel and the Palestinian people. And by the way, there's some blame for President Netanyahu as well. We ask, why were they surprised in Gaza? Well, what has President Netanyahu been doing in terms of expanding settlements into parts of the West Bank where it should not be expanded into? Israel should be focused on protecting the country that they have, but all people who support the Palestinians should confront one reality. You have to recognize Israel's right to exist. I mean, talking about the right of return, they're talking about the right of return for, in some cases, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who never lived in these areas, who would overwhelm and eliminate Israel as a country. Recognize Israel's right to exist, and that would make it a hell of a lot easier to put the pressure on them to come to a peaceful agreement with Palestine. If Israel's constantly fighting for their survival, constantly facing this type of just inhumane brutality, then you're going to have a hard time getting to that peaceful solution. And I'm sorry, but having listened to that, I just had to make that point.
No, I'm glad you did. And you know, if you look at history, and it's so important, you know, those, as Santayana would say, those who ignore the past are condemned to relive it. And I'm just thinking, you know, from before the 14th of May of 1948, from before that, this was a country that was born out of just its existence has been from before the 14th of May questioned. And it's not only, Congressman, it's not only the existence of the state of Israel, it's of the people of Israel.
Right. It's the presence of Jews in the region. Look, this region has been fought over and disputed for thousands of years. At one time or another, different group of people possess different chunks of land with different amounts of control, okay? And you could fight about it, what it should have been 50 years ago or 25 years ago or 1,000 years ago, but the bottom line is Israel is now a state, and it should be recognized. And from the very start, too many people in the Arab world have never accepted that. They have never accepted the right of Jews to be present in that region and have a state. And you can have that argument, but it's a fact now. So they have to be accepted, and then we'll be in a better position to put pressure on the Israeli government to find a peaceful resolution with the Palestinians. But I'll tell you what a lot of pro-Israel people tell me: the Palestinians don't want a peaceful coexistence with Israel. And that's part of the problem. So we've got a lot of work to do here, but we can't just breeze past the horrific violence that was just displayed and just glorifying in the horrific violence that was done. These are things that should shock all of us.
And again, you know, it may not be, if I was going to just take this last sentence of yours, it may not be the Palestinian people, but rather some of the groups and organizations that say to speak for the Palestinian I think it's
It's
important.
really unfortunate that Hamas has wound up being in charge. And you know, in many cases, the Palestinian people didn't have a lot of say in that. Look, I think the Palestinian people have suffered horrifically as well. No doubt about it. We all need to work to try to get to a more peaceful solution. But one step in that is recognizing Israel's right to exist. Another step is absolutely putting some pressure on Israel to help create a viable Palestinian state and get to a peaceful resolution.
Congressman Adam Smith, again, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us tonight. It is important that we listen to you, and I'm grateful for your time.